What up, Kane fans? Welcome to the Cafecito and Kane Show. We're here to recap the dumpster fire that was that game on Friday night. Now, you may have noticed I'm not doing your typical Tuesday night live or Thursday night live. Actually, this one isn't even live. It's a pre-recorded video. And not that I don't enjoy going back and forth with you guys in the live comments and hearing your guys' questions as I'm going, but this is one of those that I wanted to kind of let it simmer for a day. I don't like to do the reaction videos. I'm not big on those myself. I know a lot of content creators do them, and they're great at them. I want to let them have that space. I like to wait a day at least to kind of give my thoughts. Last year and the year before, I would kind of do these Sunday morning, my thoughts after the game kind of videos. Because, I want to let the emotion fade and really analyze the game and have some time to look at some numbers. I looked up some things. And I'm a little bit concerned. I'm not going to lie to you, especially with a team as talented as this one that has postseason aspirations. There are some things that can hold us back, and I'm going to go into that. But I'm going to go over my thoughts on that game, just overall. We got both outcoached and outplayed. Now, usually you can point to like one thing and it's like, oh, that's why well, no, not usually, but there's a lot of times fans are going to want to, they're going to want to scapegoat, right? They're going to want to point to quarterback through all these picks. That's why we lost. Or we just turned the ball over in general, or the penalties, or the play calling was bad. In this case, it was all the above. I mean, every box that we had to check for Louisville to pull off the upset, all happened. We checked every single one of those boxes. Penalties, turnovers, not showing up, looking unprepared start of the game. Just everything you could imagine happened. And what's amazing is we have had a chance to win the game at the end. We had the ball, on the 25 or the 30 with like 36 seconds to go, a couple timeouts. We still had a chance to win the game at the end, which shows you, the group of guys that we have. They don't quit. I will say that. They were resilient and stayed in the game. The defense punched that ball loose, and we got that touchdown by Malachi on the jet sweep, and, we were right back in it. Different game all of a sudden. I'll give them credit for not quitting. However, they should not have been in that position to begin with. I'll start with Carson Beck. Lots of people are concerned. I understand. The Florida game, I kind of give him a pass, honestly, because it was pouring rain that night. Neither quarterback really had a chance to get any kind of good grip on the ball or get in any kind of rhythm. And that wasn't an example of him being selfish and trying to play hero ball and trying to push the ball down the field when it wasn't there. He wasn't trying to force anything in the Florida game, I felt like. I thought just the weather was a huge factor. And he was just like a little bit off, but that's not the Carson Beck game I was, that I was expecting before the season. Then when I mean Carson Beck game, I mean one that he plays uncharacteristically and turns the ball over because he's trying to force it. I knew going into the season, look, he's probably going to have one or two of those games. I think we all knew that. I was on Coach Hayes' show. Yeah, it was Coach Hayes' show early, before the season started. Or he might have been on mine. I can't remember which one, but I remember talking to him on camera. And he was like, look, we all know he's not Cam Ward. Is he going to have a couple of bad games? Yeah, it's going to happen. So it didn't shock me. I was pissed. I was mad while it was happening, but really, you kind of expected this. There's going to be a couple of games where you got a clunker from Carson Beck, and the rest of the team's going to have to rally. Problem is, the rest of the team did not rally. All right. So most important thing for Carson Beck and really for this team, especially when you're facing inferior opponents talent-wise, the number one thing you got to focus on is not turning the ball over. I kept saying it heading into this game. Don't turn the ball over and you're going to be fine. And that's going to be what I'm going to say the rest of the season against Stanford, against SMU, against Syracuse. Don't turn the ball over and you'll be fine. Well, guess what? We turned the ball over 4 times to be exact. One of them being the game-ending play. And of course, the extra FU to us was that it was TJ Capers picking off the final pass. And just everybody looking confused, whether Lofton ran the wrong route or Beck made the wrong read. Who knows? Who cares? It shouldn't have even come to that, is my point. If he had just stuck to the script, taken his checkdowns when they were there, and believe me, they were there. There's screenshots all over the internet now. You can look up on X or whatever, or you could just look at the game yourself and hit pause when he's about to throw the ball. And, they show the instant replay afterwards, or they show more of the field. The first interception that he threw into triple coverage to Malachi Toney, I know he loves throwing the ball down the field to him, and he makes plays usually, but now when there's 3 safeties draped all over him, you had not just the check down, I believe it was Alex Bauman in the flat for an easy 6, 7, 8 yards. And if you break a tackle, it's an easy first down and more. So that was easy. He could have just taken that one. And it was on first down. Even more reason to take the check down. And then on that same side, whoever the receiver was on the outside had his corner beat. His corner was playing zone, ran right past him. And because Carson they were reading his eyes, he was looking straight down the field. He could have looked down the field, flipped his hips, turned, looked left. He had options. He could have taken the check down or throw one deep. Might have been a touchdown. Second one, same thing. There were a couple of options there that he could have settled for. He tried to do the double move. Corner didn't bite. He threw it down there anyway. I know people like to say, Carson likes to give his guys a chance to make a play. I understand that. And there's a time and a place for that. Not when you're down, and not when the corner, it's a play where you're trying to get him to bite and he doesn't bite. That's not the time to do it. And also, you don't do it to Keelan Marion. You do it downfield to like a CJ Daniels, who's a little more capable of going up and winning that jump ball. But really, for the most part, we don't have that kind of guy. So I'm not sure why he's trying that. Too much faith in his receiver to make a Randy Moss kind of play. That's just not going to happen. So really the thing with Carson is it's not easy in practice to do, but it's simple. The solution is simple, which is why I shouldn't be concerned about this, but just don't be a hero. Stick to the script, which had he done that, we probably win. I'll be honest with you. If he, even with all the poor play in other areas, which I'll get to, if he just sticks to the script and takes what the defense gives him, we're okay, because then the defense has to adjust to that, and then maybe we're able to run the ball a little bit more. So if he just does that the rest of the season, I think we'll be okay. However, I think he's probably got one more of these games in him, so be prepared for that. And the team is just going to have to figure out a way to rally, which is what good teams do. Let's see if they can do that. Again, inferior opponents, they should be able to do that. Now, the offensive line. I never thought I was going to have to sit here and make a video about this, but the offensive line got absolutely whooped in the trenches. I mean, whooped. You look at each individual guy. Go back and look at the tape. There were moments where Matthew McCoy looked like he forgot how to block. Maui Noah also looked like he forgot how to block. They do have one really good edge rusher. Credit to him. He had a great game. But, man, there were times our O-line it looked like they did not know what they were doing. In addition to that, they were just getting punched in the mouth repeatedly, and they had no answer for it. That was an even bigger deal to me. Like that was the biggest surprise, I think, of this game. In the trenches, we got absolutely bullied on both sides. D-line, I mean, yes, the play calling was a lot of quick passes, kind of neutralizes the pass rush. I understand that. But I feel like they were pretty ineffective. And I think that's where we got schemed up a lot. I'll give you one example. There's that formation we like to do that's been working, where we put Bain and Mezzi on one side. We overload one side, leave the other side kind of open. Linebackers drift to that side where we're loaded to kind of cover the pass in case they try swinging one out really quick. Jeff Brom obviously knew that, and he knew, okay, when they're lined up that way, easy. I'm just going to hand it off, and he's going to go the other way. It was a 3rd and 8 or a 2nd and 8, picked up an easy first down. Those are examples of where we got schemed up. First couple of possessions, I mean, defense looked absolutely lost. They were scrambling. Actually watched this game at home, so the sideline reporter was saying that there was a sense of panic with the defense early on. I will give them credit and Coach Corey Heatherman that they kind of righted the ship and got a lot of consecutive stops. Second, third, and fourth quarter, they only allowed 10 points. You allow a total of 24 points at home to a Jeff Brom coach team that's got a couple of NFL guys on their offense at the skill positions. That's not great, but it's enough to win you the game. The defense kept them in the game and gave the offense every opportunity to not only take the lead, but to take over the game. They had plenty of chances, but they kept giving the ball back. But overall, physically, I thought Louisville played with more physicality, more violence, swarming to the ball more. All that stuff about playing with energy, playing with violence, and swarming. Louisville looked like the one that was doing that way more than Miami was. We looked very flat. Could the 2 bye weeks over the span of 3 weeks have something to do with that, playing one game in 27 days? Maybe, but that's no excuse. You gotta be able to bring the energy for a game like this, especially against a team that has a coach like Jeff Brom, because he's going to be prepared. And we clearly were not to start the game. Also, why were our corners playing so far off the ball? I hope somebody can explain that to me, because I did not understand. You got the dudes to hang with these receivers. Don't be afraid to play bump and run. Also, you take away the quick game doing that, and you give your D-line an extra second or so to get to the quarterback. So I did not understand that at all schematically. Now, let's talk about our head coach, Mario Cristobal. There are certain things he's great at, and certain things that, I guess in a way, he's got some blind spots that I don't know if he'll ever figure out as a coach. We'll start with the good, the obvious. As a program builder, as a recruiter, talent evaluator, and to a certain degree as a developer as well, I would say, yeah, proven. He's very proven in that regard. He got he rose FIU from the ashes. That basically was a non-program, winning 1 or 0 games every year. Turned them into a team that was winning 7, 8 games and going to bowl games. I think they went to 2 bowl games 2 years in a row. Then he goes to Oregon, right? Kind of a volatile situation. They had just fired their coach. He comes in and loads that roster with a ton of talent, hands it off, to the current guy at Oregon. And you know what? I give him credit. He's a great coach. He's doing a great job, but the cupboard was very full when he got there. Same thing here. He takes over 2022. It's a mess. He's got to clean it up, and he has cleaned it up for sure, as far as lack of talent and culture and things like that. So you can't argue that. You can't argue the trajectory and all that stuff. However, aside from being, bursting at the seams with freaking talent, hey, that's great. That's very important. But beyond that, I don't know. There are some things that are very concerning to me. One of them being penalties. I looked this up, and I looked up his 4 years that he was head coach at Oregon. I didn't do FIU because that's many, many years ago. And, it's kind of like an anomaly period because it was so far removed. Because between then and Oregon, he was O-line coach at Alabama for a while. So I'm looking at P4 years. So at Oregon, he was head coach from 2018 to 2021. I looked up specifically penalty yardage per season and the amount of penalty yards that he was averaging per game and where that ranked compared to the rest of the country. Pretty interesting. So the year he took over, 2018, at Oregon ranked 42nd in America. Now, obviously, the higher the rank, the better you are, the lower your penalty yards per game. He was ranked 42nd. Not great, 47 penalty yards per game. But I feel like that's something you could live with. Then you go to 2019, his second year. This is where it really drops off. 114th in America in penalty yardage. averaging 64 penalty yards a game. Terrible. That is not good. 114th out of 131 or 132, terrible. Then you go to 2020. Mind you, this is a COVID-shortened season. They played 7 games that year. They went 4-3. They started the season late. It's kind of a mess of a season, but they still played some games. And during that season, they ranked 62nd with 51 penalty yards per game. Not good. Not awful, like 114th, but still not very good. Then you go to 2021, his final year at Oregon. That was the year he famously went up to Columbus, Ohio, and beat Ohio State in their house with Kayvon Thibodeau out of that game. Impressive. Great program win for them. That season, though, they reverted back to what they did in 2019. 107th in the country, 64 penalty yards per game. So overall, not great. Then you go to Miami, 2022. Yes, he inherited a mess of a team, but the trend kind of continues, right? They're ranked 103rd in America in penalty yards. Miami is. Then in 2023, that was the second year. That was the year that TVD threw all the picks. Ranked 106 in America in penalty yardage. And then you go to last year, the Cam Ward season, 118th in America in penalty yardage. I averaged all those out. You got the grand total, divide by 7 years. That is an average ranking nationally of 93rd in America in penalty yards. That's bad. Now, do the teams that win national championships, are they ranked top 5 usually in this category? Usually not. Okay. Last year, I believe Ohio State was ranked like 17th, which is really good. I mean, I'll take that all day. The year before was Michigan. They won the national title in 2023. They were ranked 3rd, very hard-nosed, disciplined team. As Jim Harbaugh, his teams are usually very disciplined. No surprise there. And then the year before that was Georgia, when they had that loaded defense filled with first rounders. They were ranked 35th. 35th is not top 5, top 10, but hey, 35th is way better than 93rd. All right, so you look at the last 3 national champions, 35 or higher is where they're ranked. That's kind of where you want to be. But being ranked an average ranking of 93rd over the past 7 years is not winning football. And that is a trend you cannot deny. That's a pretty big sample size. Is that something he's ever going to be able to fix? I don't know. That may just be who he is, because it's happening under his watch. And you know what they say: either you're coaching it or you're allowing it. I think that's the quote. And he seems to be allowing it. If it was me, and we've had issues with penalties for years. It hasn't started with Mario Cristobal. We've had this issue for 2 decades now, undisciplined play. If you have guys committing penalties, I'm sorry, I'm taking you off the field, at least for a few snaps. I'm taking playing time away. That, my opinion, is the best way to police it. Even if it's Ruben Bain, I don't care. You jump off sides, hey, come stand by me, take a break, take a breather for a couple plays, and you can go back in. But like, you got to do something different. And definitely they're not doing that. And that kind of leads me into my final point, which is one of the things that's concerning me the most. I think it's the penalties and this that I'm about to talk about. The player rotations, the snaps that guys are getting. This went from a little concerning to alarming to me. All right. I kind of understood those first few weeks. You're playing some rivals. You're playing some really big games that you got to get the win. I understand the high snap counts for certain guys, especially you're going into a period where you're playing, you have 2 weeks off in a very short time period. So, you can kind of get away with playing extra snaps. Fine. But going into the ACC schedule now, going into the second half, you're not going to have a bye week until after, let's say, somehow we make the ACC championship game, hypothetically. You get into that game, that's 8 consecutive weeks you play. Then you'd have a week off or 2 after that. So we're not having a week off for a while. Because of that, I would like to see wider rotations, to give some guys a little bit more of a break and accumulate less mileage in their legs. So these are some of the snap counts I'm seeing. Keontae Scott, 66 snaps on defense. Zachariah Poyser, 66 snaps. Jacoby Thomas, 62 snaps. He got banged up and came right back into the game. Bryce Fitzgerald. This really surprised me as someone who's as well as he's played this year. Bryce Fitzgerald, 6 snaps. 6. Was he hurt? There was something wrong with him? I don't know. I know the way Mario operates is the way you practice during the week has a lot to do with your playing time. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I'm just spitballing here. I have no idea. But 6 snaps for Bryce Fitzgerald, as well as he's played, I don't understand that. And you're starting to see guys get nicked up a little bit. They're still playing through it, but this is halfway through the year. And really not even halfway, because if you intend on making the playoffs and playing a few extra games, really you're like a little bit past a third of the way through the season. It's a marathon. I don't like the high snap counts here. It's going to catch up with them. Now, by the way, shout out to, I believe it was Trenton Breeze on Kane's Insight that posted this. That's where I got the information. It says he got it from, he cited his source. He got it from Pro Football Focus. So this is straight from PFF. Ahmad Moten, 51 snaps, a little high. David Blade, 44 snaps. I can live with that. Justin Scott, 7 snaps. You're trying to develop guys. He's a former 5-star recruit. I understand he's not quite where you want him yet, but man, if there's a game, if there are games that you can get him in and get him extra snaps, it's against these opponents. Why is he only having 7 snaps? There was another game that he had like 9 or 5 snaps. I think it was the Florida game. It was single digits. He's not going to take a step forward with 7 snaps. I don't understand that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. You could explain it to me in the comments, but you could say, oh, well, he's not earning the. I don't think he's playing bad. I think if over time you're going to burn out your guys. I think if he played 12 or 15 snaps just to give Moten and Blade, a little bit more of a break and keep them fresh. That way you throw your starters out there for those final drives where the game is on the line. I understand we're not blowing teams out right now. That's another reason guys are playing high snaps. I get it. But you can be smart about it during the game. Give Bain, hey, come off for a play. Give him a breather. A play here, 2 plays there for Mezzi, a play here for Keontae. If you sprinkle those in throughout the game, instead of Keontae Scott playing 66 snaps with those little breathers here and there, he's playing 54 snaps instead of 66. They add up quickly. I can live with him playing like 50-something snaps. That's fine, because over time, it's not going to be as much mileage. He's not going to be as nicked up as easily. 66 snaps, and then what do you play, like 87 snaps against FSU? No, that's too much. I heard someone say that, I forgot who it was. I would shout them out, but I know I heard this recently, that anything beyond 60 snaps, you start to lose technique. You start to, basically technique just goes out the window is what they were saying, past like 60, 65 snaps. So yeah, that is very concerning to me, but I'll keep going. Bain, 68 snaps, way too high. That cannot continue. He's going to get hurt if this continues. Mezzi, 52. I can live with that, but part of that is because he got banged up and had to come out. Marquise Lightfoot, again, this really surprised me, as well as he's been playing. 8 snaps for Lightfoot. His speed and athleticism on these short, quick passes couldn't have helped you. I'm giving him at least 15 snaps, at least, maybe 20. I don't know. It seems like there's like 18 to 20 guys on defense that Mario trusts. And beyond that, it's nope. If you play, it's like 2 snaps. Like, I don't get it. A couple honorable mentions here. Cam Pruitt, who we all were super excited about heading into the year, provides nice depth. He's talented. He's athletic. 2 snaps. Again, I don't understand. He could have saved Keontae Scott, or maybe not Keontae, he's a slot corner, but, Poyser or Jacoby. As hard as those guys hit, maybe take 5 or 10 snaps off their plate. That can go a long way if you're doing that consistently every game. So I'm not happy with the player rotations at all, as you can tell. JoJo Trader. Apparently there was a JoJo sighting. I don't recall it, but JoJo played 1 snap. 1. Yes, you heard that correctly. I'm sorry. That's a slap in the face to me. I know he's been working his way back, into the good graces of everybody, trying to get back in the lineup. But if I'm JoJo at this point, if I put in the work and I've earned 1 snap, it's like, assuming he has put in the work and done everything right. You throw me in for 1 snap, I'm sorry, I feel insulted. Like, we could have used him. We could have used an explosive playmaker on the outside for this game. He's right there. Again, maybe there's stuff happening behind the scenes. I don't know. But 1 snap, that almost feels like more of a punishment. Jordan Lyle, though, I was happy to see he got 20 snaps. He got a few carries. He almost busted a big one on one of his runs. I feel like he's getting incorporated more. But, I digress. I just feel like Mario's coaching a little bit scared. He's scared of putting in some of the younger guys in certain moments. You got to give him room to learn, because that's part of it. That's how you keep this thing going. But anyways, that's just my thoughts on the game on Friday and what I think of this team moving forward. The snap counts, again, are really alarming to me. I feel like this team is going to run out of gas if this continues this way. Could blowing teams out early in the game, starting faster, help that? Yeah, sure. But that's not always going to be there. The coaches have to be a little bit smarter. And these are those blind spots that I'm talking about with Mario. I feel like the player rotation. I know position coaches handle player rotations, but at the end of the day, you're the head guy. You decide that. The player rotations, the penalties, the clock usage, that was another thing. We drained the clock down to 2 minutes when we were at midfield on the final, attempting the game-winning drive. I was actually fine with that, because you don't want to give Louisville too much time, because now, like I just said, your defense has played way too many snaps, and you're not throwing freshmen out there for that final stop to win you the game. So drain the clock. Don't leave them too much time after the score. I was fine with that. 2 minutes, 3 timeouts left, and you're at midfield pretty much. That's plenty of time. I don't want to hear, he doesn't know how to manage the clock. He's done it. That was fine. But I think the next 2 plays after that, we drained like 1 minute and 10 seconds off the clock. That's where I had a problem with it, because managing those final 2 minutes, that was bad. Was he playing for the field goal? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not in his head. But I was fine with them draining it down to 2 minutes. I thought that was smart. I would do the same thing. But I don't know. The management after that point was terrible. Well, those are just my thoughts. Moving forward, could this team run the table and win the next 6? Absolutely. Absolutely. If they just stay away from turning the ball over and stop making stupid mistakes, 100%. And that's going to come down to the leadership on the field. Will they do it? I don't know. That's why I titled this video, I'm concerned, because I've seen this happen. I'm almost resigned to believe it's going to happen again, that they mess up one of these games at the end of the year and that's it, and we end up in a meaningless bowl game. But I hope I'm wrong. I will be there Saturday against Stanford, rooting them on. Hopefully it's a great crowd. It's going to be a night game on a Saturday, so you won't have to drive through rush hour traffic to get there. And I expect a dominant victory. Stanford, shout out to Stanford. They just beat FSU, but they're not a good team. They got a ton of injuries as well. We should be able to smash them. That should be at least a 3-touchdown victory. I will expect nothing less. But anyways, one final thought, or one final thing, really, I should tell you guys. I am going to be taking probably a couple of weeks off here, because I got a certification I'm studying for at work that I'd like to just get that off my plate. I want to just take the test and pass it already. So I've been studying a lot, been really busy. I want to just zone in on that, get that done, and I'll be back on with you guys on my regular schedule. And hopefully this team will be back on track by then. But anyways, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, folks. Have a good one. And as always, go Canes.